Parshat Vayeshev, last week's Parsha, Yaakov has an all-night wrestling match with an angel. Yaakov remained alone, and a man wrestled with him, ad alos hashachar. So, Avram, what do we need to know for the all-night wrestling match? What's the message? Torah doesn't tell me any stories. Bereshis 32, Pasuk 25. Yaakov remained alone, and a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. Rashi makes a strange comment. While they were wrestling, they were kicking up dirt. Yiddish Ray. Who cares? 3,800 years ago, Yaakov, Yiddish Daniel, had a wrestling match with a strange being, and they were wrestling, and Rashi says they were kicking up dirt. Avi, why should I care what they were kicking up dirt? What's the message? Who was the being he was wrestling with? The Yitzchok, Satan. Satan's game plan, he attacks us with dirt. Yiddish Avi? Number one, he throws smoke or dirt in our eyes. He throws sand in our eyes. Black Friday, I gotta have that. I gotta have that. Even though you don't have to have it, right? More and more bigger and dumber smartphone, and bigger TV screens. That's the Satan's game plan. He throws dirt in our eyes, Avi. Sand in our eyes. That's his game plan. Another explanation, he attacks us with dirt, Aram. Whatever you do, he says, has no value. You're going to do a mitzvah, you're going to do an act of kindness, it's meaningless. Don't fall for Satan's wiles. The Yitzchok attacks us with dirt, throws dirt in our eyes, and he belittles our deeds that we do, that it's nothing value, it's all dirt. Don't fall for those tricks. This was the Yitzchok that we all wrestle with. And the struggle with evil will continue ad alos hashachar, Avram, until the dawn of what? Mashiach. We have to wrestle with the Yitzchok and evil ad alos hashachar. This week's Parshat Vayeshev, Bereshis 37, verse 1. Vayeshev Yaakov. Yaakov lived in the land where his parents lived, the Eretz Canaan. Eretz Canaan. Parshat Vayeshev. The Parshat Vayeshev usually falls around Hanukkah time. Strange connection between Hanukkah and Vayeshev. It always falls around Hanukkah time. 199. Well, what happened to Vayeshev, Billah? There was a war of Joseph against the brothers. And centuries later, what happened in Hanukkah, Banish? The Maccabees, who were their first victims? Fellow Jews, Hellenists. So Yosef fought with his brothers, right? And in the civil war, the Hellenists versus what? The Chashmonaim, the Maccabees, the Keshet, the Hanukkah. Unfortunately, the Kahanim fought against the Hellenist Jews, the modern-day J Streeters, J Street, rabbis for Palestine. Nothing much has changed in 2,200 years. We still have the eternal enemy as we had the Hellenists then, unfortunately. So Parshat Vayeshev, so you have the story of Joseph and the brothers, and the brothers hate him because they're jealous of him, right? And then he tells them to dream. Now Joseph's a very wise son. Unkala says, Bar Hakim. Why did Yaakov favor him? Because he was the brightest, greatest scholar of all of them. He was very bright. He knows the brothers hate him, so Banish, why pour fuel on the fire? Why continue to tell with the dreams? And the Torah says they hated him even more. Keep your mouth closed. You see what's going on, Daniel. Be quiet. You're a smart kid. Why do you have to what? Add more fuel to the fire? Yes?
Yaakov treated him better because he was the mother and the father. The mother died, so he thought he had...
Okay, but Unkala says he'd be by Bar Hakim, because he was the wisest son. And he saw himself in Yaakov. And Yaakov saw himself in Yosef. But Yosef was very bright, so why continue to tell the dreams? You know it's just increasing their what? Their hatred. Ramban asked this question. Ramban answered that Yosef knew that the dreams were prophecy. He will be king over them. And a Navi has no right to, how do you say, stifle himself. A Navi has a Nevuah, he's not allowed to what? refrain from saying it, even if it means putting himself in danger. So therefore, Yosef had no breira. Avram, he knew that the dreams were nevuah, and a navi is kovish his nevuah, as chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. And navi has to say over the nevuah, even though it will antagonize people and his own brothers, and therefore he had no choice, but he had to what?
Like Jeremiah?
Say it.
Like
Yirmiyahu put himself in danger, and Yonah, they all the navis. Yeshayahu cost Yeshayahu his life. His own grandson murdered him because he didn't like what he was saying. So a navi cannot refrain. In this week's Parsha,
Is that a halach or something? Or
yeah, it's a Kodesh, look in the Rambam, Kodesh Nevuah. In this week's Haftorah, the Navi says, this week's Haftorah, in Amos chapter 2, he says, Arye Sha'og, Milo Yira. When the lion roars, who will not fear? Hashem Elokim Diber. The prophet Amos says, God's voice is like a roaring lion in me. I don't want to say it over because people won't like what I have to say, but Ein B'reira. It's like a lion roaring with him. He compares God's voice to a roaring lion. And therefore, he says, Hashem Diber, Milo Yenoveh. God is roaring in me. How can I not say over the prophecy, even though it's putting myself in danger? So this is another connection. You would have just found a new connection between Amos, not Amos and Andy, Amos and Vayeshev. You hear this, Bill? I just got a telegram.
Wow.
Yosef was putting himself in danger by saying the dreams over. He knew that. But he had no choice because a Navi is not allowed to kovish his nevuah. And Amos, the very last verse in Amos 2. Anybody want to read that? The very last verse there. You have it, Avram? No?
It's in the Haftorah?
The Haftorah, verse 8.
1142.
1142, verse 8. Anybody?
Find the security right now.
No. Arye Sha'ag, Milo Yira.
That's verse 8.
When the lion roars.
That's verse 8.
Sailors, the last verse, the Sailors Scroll 7.
No. The lion roars, who will not be afraid?
The lion has roared, who will not fear. My Lord Hashem, Elohim has spoken.
That's chapter
Who would
3.
not prophesy? Oh.
So that's what he said. This connects just like Yosef, putting himself in danger, so was Amos. But he's saying, but God's voice is like a roaring lion, and therefore I must prophesy even though it's putting me in danger. This is another connection, Bainish, between the Amos that just came to me and why we read this Haftorah, connecting with Vayeshev. Of course, there's another reason. Look at the beginning of the Haftorah. They sold the tzaddik for money. Who's the tzaddik? Yosef HaTzaddik, right? Amos says they sold the tzaddik for money. And they bought a pair of shoes with it.
They paid 20 years.
So, my granddaughter, Abigail, she's 8 years old, hope she's listening, asked me a question. She said, Saba, why does Amos call Yosef HaTzaddik? Look at the Parsha, Avram. Genesis 37:2. It says that Yosef HaTzaddik slandered his brothers. He spoke Lashon Hara against them. So why does the Amos call him a tzaddik? You hear what she asked? She almost stumped me. Close but no cigar. You hear this, Bilha? She's 8. How could Amos call Yosef a tzaddik when the Torah testifies? You want to read that? Genesis 37:2. Oh, you have it, yeah. Just turn back. It says that what? That Yosef spoke slander against his brothers. And he was punished for it, therefore he was sold into slavery. He accused the brothers of sexual immorality, and he was accused of sexual immorality. I think it's called Ray Boomerang.
Yep.
So why is he called a tzaddik? What's the answer? There's a pasuk in Mishlei, Bila. Sheval yipol tzaddik v'kam. The tzaddik will fall 7 times when he gets up. Yes, Yosef was a tzaddik. And there's a pasuk in Koheles, Adam ein tzaddik ba'aretz asher yaseh tov v'lo yechta. Even the greatest tzaddik sins. Even Yosef HaTzaddik sinned. Everybody sins. You can still be a tzaddik because you do tshuva. Yosef did this terrible sin. He did tshuva. He paid the price. And therefore he's called tzaddik.
How did he do tshuva?
Sheva yipol tzaddik. Whatever tshuva means. What does tshuva mean? Everybody knows what they have to do in tshuva. So he paid his price. He did tshuva. And therefore Amos calls him Reiwat, a tzaddik. And Mishlei says the tzaddik will fall 7 times, but he keeps getting up, therefore he's called a tzaddik. And the Baal Shem Tov says, puts a different spin on it. Only when a person falls 7 times and doesn't give up and doesn't throw in the towel, but he keeps getting up and doing tshuva, only then is he called what? A tzaddik. Yosef a tzaddik. He sinned, he slandered the brothers, he did tshuva, and therefore he's called what? He's called a tzaddik now. Nachon? So he has a dream. He has a dream that the sun and the moon and the stars and his 11 siblings are bowing down to him, right? Who are the sun and the moon? His father and his mother. Who are the 11 stars? The 11 brothers, right? But he also had a sister, Dinah. So how come she's not out of the loop? Should have said 12 stars. Why only 11 siblings, 11 stars? Should have been 12. Dinah was a sibling. Didn't she also bow down to him? So the Medrash says that Yosef HaTzadik married Dinah's daughter. Osnat was actually Dinah's daughter. He married his niece, Osnat was Dinah's daughter. That means that Yosef HaTzadik, sister Dinah, also happened to be his mother-in-law. In your wildest dreams, your mother-in-law will not bow down to the son-in-law.
You're saying
Joseph married Osnat. Osnat was the daughter of Dinah. That means that Dinah was going to be Yosef's what? Mother-in-law. 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 Danish, in the wildest dreams, a mother-in-law will never bow to son-in-law. And therefore, she's not in the picture. Only 11 siblings, not 12. Get it? Mm-hmm.
Today, it's
what?
allowed.
What's not allowed?
To marry a niece.
You're allowed to marry a niece. In Torah, you're allowed to marry a niece, not a problem. You can't marry an aunt. An aunt you can't marry, Billah, but you're allowed to marry a niece.
But
an aunt is forbidden. A niece is okay.
A niece can marry an uncle?
Yes. A lot of Rebbes, Hasidic Rebbes, marry their niece. That's okay. You can't marry an aunt, but a niece you can. Why? It's a chok. What's wrong with a cheeseburger? It's a chok. Why can't you wear, you can wear a wool sweater over a linen shirt. Is there a problem?
No.
Even though the fibers will mix?
Yes, not a problem. You can have a beautiful linen shirt and buy a beautiful wool sweater over it, not a problem, even though they're touching. The issue is only if they're what? Woven together. Why? It's a chok. It's divine wisdom, right? So this is divine wisdom. So Yosef goes looking for his brothers, right? His father sends him, and he goes looking for his brothers, and he gets lost. And who finds him? Mysterious stranger finds him. Gabriel. Rashi said it was the angel Gabriel who directed him, what? Into the trap. Looks like a trap, no? Now, Rashi wonders. Yaakov had a lot of servants, Billah. He could have sent one of the slave men, the slave girls to check on the brothers. Why did he have to send his most beloved son? It doesn't seem to make sense. He knew that they hated him. So why did they send Yosef? Why did he send Yosef? He has a lot of servants. Send them. Send them a WhatsApp, SMS. So Rashi says, to answer this question, Beinish, we will ask another. Look at Bereshis 37, verse 14. Anybody? Bereshis 37, 14. He tells his son, go check how your brothers are doing. Right? Billah, you ain't got that? Genesis 37, 14.
203.
203, 14, Billah. You want to read that? 2:14. Anybody? Because the clock is ticking. What?
Go now look into the welfare of your brothers.
Yes.
Spare the flock and bring me back word.
Go ahead.
So he sent him from the death of Hebron.
He sent them from the where?
Hebron.
No, the word before that.
Oh, death.
Death? What does that mean?
No, depth.
Depth.
Deep.
And the deep, Emek means a valley. Ho, ho, ho. Hebron, Rashi says Hebron is not in a valley. Hebron is what? On a mountain. What do you mean he sent them from the depths of Hebron? Hebron is on a har. So Rashi says, Eitza Amuka. How do you say that in English? A deep counsel here of Oto Tzaddik who's buried in Hebron. Yaakov never would have sent his beloved son knowing that the brothers hated him. But this is part of God's Eitza Amuka. Deep, deep secret that God told the tzaddik buried in Hebron. Who's the tzaddik buried in Hebron? Avraham Avinu. Your kids will be slaves. Your kids will be slaves in Egypt. So HaKadosh Baruch had to orchestrate how are you going to get the Jews down to Egypt. So Yosef is sent, he's kidnapped, then the family goes down to Egypt. It's all orchestrated. Eitza Amuka. How do you say that in English? Eitza Amuka. Deep counsel, the secret. Otherwise, you never would have sent him. But God's game plan is that the Jewish people have to be born in the slave pits of Egypt. How are we going to get Yaakov's family to go down there? So God had to orchestrate this. All unbelievable. Now, if you think about it, right, it looks like a terrible tragedy. But it turned into what? Nation building. Nation building. Avram. Nation building. Oh. Now, Bereshit 37, verse 25. So Yosef is sold to a caravan of Ishmaelites. And what are they carrying in their saddlebags? Chanel number 5. Remember Charlie? What else is it? Musk. Who cares what they're carrying in their saddlebags? The Torah is GPS. Why do we know that the wagon train that sold Yosef to Egypt, what they were carrying? Rashi wonders. Rashi says, normally the Arabs, the wagon trains of Arab, they carry naft. Naft, what does naft mean? Kerosene. Kerosene, naft, toxic fumes. But this morning, Muhammad Ali woke up and he said, you know, instead of carrying kerosene and other toxic fumes, we're going to change the menu. Today we're going to carry Chanel and Musk. Why? Says Rashi, why? That Yosef HaTzadik should not become nauseous from the toxic fumes that the Arabs usually carry. So, and this morning, God put a bee in the bonnet for Muhammad Ali, the camel driver. Today we're going to carry what? That's why the Torah tells me what they're carrying. You understand this?
Yes.
You really understand this, Daniel? Yosef HaTzadik got his hands full. He's being kidnapped by his own brothers, being sold into Egypt. As far as he's concerned, he'll never see his family again. Never. His beloved father. Who knows where he's going, somewhere in a dungeon in Egypt. You think he's thinking about the toxic fumes? You think that's what's bothering him? He's got bigger fish to fry. Hello, Elisheva, you know what's going on over here? What's Rashi talking about? He cares. That's concerning him with the smell. What?
Hashem is sweet. He's giving him a break.
Oh, so you see what Elisheva said? All suffering that we have in life is measured. Yosef deserved this terrible ordeal because he slandered the brothers. But he didn't deserve to suffer from toxic fumes. So therefore God had the menu changed, you know. Muhammad Ali figured today we'll try this. Musk, Chanel. You know what Elisheva said? Hashem is giving Yosef HaTzadik a wink. Hashem is whispering in his ear. He doesn't deserve the extra torment of a foul odor. Yosef saw that. Hey, what are they carrying in their saddlebags? They usually carry kerosene and other disgusting fumes, right? What's it called there? Naft. You know, the black, terrible. So Yosef knew that Hashem is with him. So the powerful message in life, Avi, everybody suffers. But you have to know no one suffers an ounce more than he deserves. It's all planned out. Yosef had to suffer this ordeal because he slandered the brothers. But he didn't have to suffer the additional agony of toxic fumes, Benish. And therefore the Torah points out, what a message in life. What a message in life. Whatever we get is measured exactly what we deserve. Not an ounce more of suffering. What a message. Yes, Elisheva?
I wanted to say also that the good smells elevate his soul.
That's true, but why tell me about it?
Well,
right?
If you've been down that road, it's
Why tell me about it? But this is the end. All pain in life is exactly measured. That did not include the extra torment of this foul odor. And this is a message for us that we have to know. Everybody suffers, right? But we have to know it's tailor-made for us, and somehow it's all for the best. Hakol l'tovah. Whatever God does, hakol l'tovah. Right? Even though it looks bad, but this looks like a terrible tragedy. But you'll see what happened in the end. If it wasn't for that, the entire Middle East would have died of hunger, famine, right? Yosef wouldn't have been sold to Egypt. Pharaoh would have had the dreams. Nobody would interpret the dreams, right? The whole family in Canaan and Egypt, they all would have perished in the famine. So the brothers do this terrible sin, right? They sell him, and they cover up their crime by dipping Joseph's coat in blood. Rashi says, why goat's blood? Those days didn't have DNA testing. Rashi says goat's blood looks very similar to human blood. But anyway, here, Rav Elchanan Wasserman is something amazing. He's sitting down for this, Bill? He says the blood libel been haunting the Jewish people throughout the century. The blood libel doesn't make any sense. We see a blood spot on an egg. What do we do? Throw away the whole egg. How could the Goyim accuse us of using human blood for matzah? It's so insane. It doesn't make any sense. Who throws away an egg and see one blood spot? We're going to use human blood. Where does that crazy charge come from? Said Elchanan Wasserman, Zeichet Shem Yocham Domoy, Mida Keneged Mida. We sold our brother and we covered up the crime with goat's blood that looks like human blood. Therefore, we suffer from the blood libel throughout the centuries. This is what Elchanan Wasserman said that. Therefore, accused of Alilas Dam throughout the centuries. He says, Mida Keneged Mida. Pretty incredible. I wouldn't dare say that, but this is exactly what
He said.
Elchanan Wasserman, Shem Yocham Domo, Nachon. Yeah. Yeah. Now, this is for all married couples coming up. All married couples. Now, if you don't see this inside, you'll think I'm hallucinating. Bereshis 37, verse 26. Bereshis 38, verse 26. Bereshis 38, 26, in the year 38. Bereshis 38, pasuk 26. Right? Yehuda and Tamar, the story.
Page 213.
Yehuda and Tamar, the story, right? He has relations with her. He doesn't know that's his daughter-in-law, right? Then she what? He confesses up that he's the one that impregnated her, right? So Bereshis 38, 26. Anybody? Avi.
Judah recognized and he said, she's right, it is for me.
It's for me. The pregnancy is for me. Go ahead.
Inasmuch as I did not give her to Shel, my son.
He what?
He was not intimate.
He was not intimate with her no more. Who cares? 38 years ago, he was not intimate with her no more. Thank you very much. Why should I care? And even more bizarre, Rashi says, others say, he didn't stop being intimate with her. Are you getting this? Rashi brings on Manda Omer, when it says, V'lo Yosef Oladata, he was no longer intimate with her, it means he did not stop ever being intimate with her. I can't stop loving you. You understand this, Rashi? You really understand this, Rashi?
What?
Well, that's what he says. Now, how could they both be right, Elisheva? We know when two superstars disagree, Alana will like this, they're both right. One Madiyoma says he never stopped being lovey-dovey with her. And the other one says he completely stopped being lovey-dovey with her. How could they both be right, and who cares? He's sitting down. In every marriage, Bainish, in every marriage, sometimes you feel you can't get enough of each other, and other times you feel you can't stand each other.
Wow.
Both are right.
Wow.
Sometimes Yehuda and Tamar couldn't get enough of each other, other times they completely separated. In every marriage it's like that. It's not history, Elisheva. Every marriage has its ups and downs. Elu v'elu divrei chayim. Otherwise, why tell me about it? Are you getting this? You writing it down? What a message. And every marriage is like that, right? Lovey-dovey all the time, and the next day, can't stand each other. It's natural, Daniel, because men are from Venus and women are from Mars. What a profound Rashi, Yehuda. You got to learn this Rashi with your wife.
No.
Yes, you got to learn this Rashi. Yes, omrim lo hosif. Some say he never stopped being lovey-dovey with her, and others say he completely stopped being lovey-dovey with her. Who's right? Yes. They're both right. Depends which day of the week. Oh, Daniel, which day of the week? What an incredible Rashi. What an incredible Rashi, right? Now, how does the Torah define success? I don't know. You have $1 million in the bank, a successful man, right? Yosef HaTzadik is a slave in Egypt. You can't get much lower than that. A slave in Egypt? And look what the Torah says about him.
Verse 2.
Genesis 39:2. Vahi ish matzliach. He was a very successful man, Abraham. Yosef HaTzadik, the Torah says, was a very successful man. Very successful, a slave in Egypt. Ray, my son the doctor, my son the lawyer, my son the slave in Egypt. What's ish matzliach? How could he be successful, Bainish? How does the Torah measure success, Avi? By the size of your bank account, your real estate holdings? Aleph Bet, Emunah B'tochon. Yosef was a slave in Egypt, but he never lost his Aleph Bet. Emunah B'tochon, that you're a successful man in God's eyes. Even if you're a slave in Egypt. What a powerful message.
And he never denied who he was.
Right? Ish matzliach. How do they say it in English, Avi? 39:2. Successful man? No?
Prosperous.
Prosperous man, our stone, Chumash. Bila. What? Genesis 39:2.
Successful.
Man.
A successful man.
Successful, right? Why, he had yachts and real estate holdings? Slave. But he never lost his Aleph Bet. Emunah Bet B'tochon. That's how the Torah defines success. The 4 words that saved the world, Daniel. There are 4 words that saved the world. Background music. Yosef is in a dungeon in Egypt. His plate is full. He's been accused of raping his master's, right? Got his own sorrows, right? He's in a dungeon there with the butler and the baker and the candlestick maker. 4 words that saved the world. Madua penechem roim hayom. Why the long face? Yosef, you got your own sorrows, right? These pagans have a long face. Why do you care? You have your own sorrows. Sorrows on top of sorrows. A slave, a dungeon accused of rape, a trial is coming up. Why is he worried that these pagans have a long face? If he would have kept his mouth shut, what would have happened? He would have rotted in the dungeon. The entire Middle East and the land of Canaan, including his whole family, would have starved. But because he showed concern for other people, even pagans. Why the long face? Why the long face, Ray? If he would have kept quiet, he would have died in the jail. The Middle East would have starved. Famine, a worldwide famine. His own family would have starved. But because he showed concern for others, a small act of chesed.
That's right.
Why you long face? Now, if you talk out your problems, even if you have no solutions, just to make you feel better if you talk out the problems. You could feel better, right?
Absolutely.
A small act of chesed saved the world. But Satan's plan is, it's dirt. What are you concerned about somebody else? Who cares what you say? That's Satan's trap. You show concern for others. It could lead to save the world. Brother Joe. 4 words that saved the world. Madua penechem roim hayom. Why the long face? And that got the ball rolling. The butler got out, right?
Yes.
And you remember Joseph. Joseph got out of jail, interpreted dreams, became the viceroy of Egypt. Interpreted the dream, came up with this economic plan that saved Egypt and Canaan and his whole family from what? From famine. If he would have minded his own business, what would have happened? He's dead. The whole Middle East starves, including his family. One small act of chesed changed the world. What? Don't mind your own business. Show concern for others. What a message. What a message in life. Madua panechem roim hayom. Benish, you don't remember Mr. Ed, Benish? Remember Mr. Ed, right?
I remember.
He had a long face, no? He wore glasses when he read. Remember that?
I remember.
We turned the pages with a pencil.
How do you remember that?
I remember.
On TV.
I was a TV freak. Right? Yeah.
Leave it to Beaver.
Yeah. Yeah. Powerful message. Now, the end of the parsha. So Yosef asked the butler to get him out of jail. Help me, right? I did you a favor. When you get out, tell Paroi about me, right? Yes? So look at the last verse in the parsha.
That's why I stayed 2 years.
Bereshis 40, verse 23. Anybody? Bereshis 40, verse 23? Billah, the last verse. Genesis 40, 23. The butler didn't remember Brother Joe and you forgot him. You forgot him. So Rashi makes a very bizarre comment, Billah. Because Yosef put his trust in the butler, therefore he had to spend an initial 2 years in the dungeon. You understand this? He put his trust in the butler. He said, please do me a favor. You get out of here. I did you a favor. Mention me to Paroi.
That's what Rashi said?
So Rashi said because he put his trust in the butler, he had to spend an additional 2 years in the dungeon. You understand this? You really understand this?
Which verse?
I don't.
Which verse is this, Rabbi?
Last verse in the parsha. Last verse in the parsha. Genesis 40, verse 23.
Because he didn't trust Hashem.
Didn't trust Hashem, right? So Rashi answers his own question. Fasten your seatbelts. Rashi quotes Tehillim 40. Fortunate is the human being that puts his trust in Hashem and does not turn to the arrogant. Says Rashi, V'loi botach al Mitzri. If the butler was a Puerto Rican or a Chinaman, not a problem. But you're going to put your faith in a Mitzri? A Mitzri, Rashi says. The problem was that you don't trust a Mitzri. The problem wasn't that a human being, because God works through what? But the problem was, says Rashi 1,000 years ago, it's a Mitzri. Look at the last Rashi in the Parsha.
Yeah, let's touch it
The
up.
last Rashi in the Parsha.
Touch it.
Loi botach al Mitzrim, according Rav. The Mitzrim are called arrogant and ungrateful. You can't expect no favors. To ask a favor from a Mitzri is worse than doing nothing. Bainish, you getting this? Otherwise, you ask Rabbi Goldberg. Rabbi Goldberg, what's the problem? He knows the chussid from Hurricane Katrina. It was a Chabad chussid. That he trusted in Hashem. Chabad chussid, true story. But this is the answer. This is the answer.
Ask a favor from
Look
the
at the last
Mitzri.
line,
What?
last line, 4023, is very similar to,
40:23.
similar to 40, to Kitzetzi, to Deuteronomy, Kitzetzi 25:19.
Lo zocha shar masnu.
Amalek, you shall wipe up the memory, you shall not forget.
Right.
Here it says, you don't remember, but he forgot.
So Rashi said, it seems to be redundant. If the butler didn't remember him, obviously he what, Elisheva? Forgot him. Right? The Torah doesn't repeat itself. I do, but the Torah doesn't. So Rashi says, he didn't remember him on the day he got freed, and he purposely forgot him after that. You can't trust a Mitzri. Brother Joe, you're a smart boy. Who are you asking a favor? You think Abu Mamza will do you a favor? You think Hamas? It's so current events. Hamas will do you a favor. You give them electricity and water, right? And you let $50 million pass through blackmail money. You think they'll appreciate it? If only Bibi would learn Rashi. $50 million a month stuffed in suitcases we let through. You expect they said they'll show good favor to you? They'll show the appreciation. They'll always stab you in the back. Hello, are you out there, BB? Learn Rashi. Learn Rashi. It's so Rashi's so on target, Elisheva. He only wrote this in 1040, but he's so on target. The Parsha of the week. So on target. Right? We expect good favor from, right? With all the concessions. Now, why did they dafke buy shoes? Let's look at the Haftorah. Amos 2, the Haftorah, the back of the book. Not Amos and Andy. Remember Amos and Andy? Amos chapter 2, verse 6. It's in the back of the book. I don't know what page it is.
What is it? Page 11.
The back of the book. Just turn it. The Haftorah.
1142.
1142. 1142. Amos.
And Andy.
Right? Not Andy, just Amos. They sold the tzaddik down the river and they bought shoes. Why should I care what they bought? Bila, fasten your seatbelts. Pirkei de Eliezer says that this sale of Brother Joe took place on what's going to be Yom Kippur. Therefore, what do you do on Yom Kippur, Daniel? You take off your shoes. This little tick on there. We all have the DNA of the founding fathers of Israel. They're the founding fathers. The sale of Brother Joe took place on Yom Kippur, says Pirkei de Eliezer. So therefore, what do you do on Yom Kippur?
Take off your shoes.
Because they bought shoes with the money on Yom Kippur. So we take it off. That's one reason. There's 69 other reasons, but that's one reason. But why shoes? Why not a smartphone? Or a disc player?
They weren't smart.
So this, you can Google this, you know. In the ancient world, slaves did not wear shoes. Only free men wore shoes. Hear me well. Yosef had a dream that the brothers are going to be his slaves, right? They're going to bow down to him, the bundles and the stars. So they turned the tables on him. They bought shoes, and they took off his shoes with the coat. You think you're going to be the king and we'll be the slaves? We'll show you. A slave didn't wear any shoes. Only a free person, a master, wore shoes. So they turned the tables on Joe, because he said that he will be their master in the dream. So now they showed him, forget about it. We are the masters. We're going to buy shoes, and you're going to be the slave. Pretty incredible. Next Thursday, we don't have a class. We have a class on Sunday, Abraham. Sunday. But we do not have a class on next Thursday because Hanukkah will be away. So let's talk a little bit about next week's Parsha, because we won't be here. Next week's Parsha. We'll have a class on Sunday.
Sunday the 9th?
Yes. But we won't have a class on next Thursday because we'll be away for Hanukkah. So Yosef HaTzadik, this Sunday we'll have a class. Right? Amazing. So they don't know, right, what happened to him. There's a famine all over the world, including Canaan. Right? So Yaakov tells the brothers, go down to Egypt and take along a gift for the viceroy of Egypt. In Bereshit 43, verse 11, Avram. See that? Bereshit 43, verse 11.
43:11?
Yeah, 43:11.
43:11?
Yeah. What does it say there, Ray? Their father says to them, what do they call the father here? 43:11. What's so hard? Anybody?
If it must...
No, Genesis 43:11.
If Genesis 43... Israel, their father said to them.
Yeah, Israel, their father said. Why Israel? I thought their father's name is Yaakov. What page? 241, verse 11. Their father Yisrael said to them. We know that Yaakov had two names. Yaakov and Yisrael. Why is the name Yisrael used here? Bill, I hear the question, and why should I care? Are you with me on this? We know their father's name was Yisrael Yaakov. So why tell me over here their father Yisrael said to them? I know his name wasn't Herman. I know that. Yaakov is the private person. Yisrael
Is the nation.
this going down, you're involved in nation building. He didn't realize that. Go down to Egypt, they use the name Yisrael. Because only in Egypt will the nation of Yisrael be built. The question is why? That's another topic. But the nation is born in the womb of the slime pits. So therefore it's used what? Yisrael. Chevle Leda, childbirth is very painful. 9 months. I don't have to tell you, Bill, all right? You know better than me. The Jewish people were born in the womb of Egypt. They had to go through this terrible labor pains. The birth of Am Yisrael. So therefore it uses not Yaakov, it uses what? Yisrael.
Struggle with God.
Yisrael, the struggle with God, or the Prince of God, right? It has both meanings. Seems to be a two opposite meaning. Yisrael means to struggle with God. It also means Sarel. By struggling with God, we become a Prince of God. It seems to be a contradiction, Bilha. The name Yisrael means to struggle with God. It also means the Prince of God. By struggling with God, we become the Prince of God. He says, take Mizimra Sa'aretz. You see that, Ray? What page is that again?
41.
Verse 11. He tells them, take Mizimra Sa'aret. What does that mean? How do they translate that in English? Anybody?
Take of the land's glory.
Take of the land's glory. Right. What does that mean? Billa, what does that mean? Take of the land's glory.
In his baggage, this is the first time he had to pay over pounds on the airplane for carrying too much baggage.
Rashi says something amazing. Mizimra already quotes Onkelos. Whenever you go to Shmutz La'aretz, you should always praise Pisgat Zeb. I mean, you'll tell people. What you'll tell? Praise Eretz Yisrael. Don't badmouth Israel. It's incredible how the Pasha of the week you would always speaks to what? Current events. J Street, BDS, breaking the sound. They go there, they go to Shmutz La'aretz and they badmouth Israel.
New York Times.
Right? Right? These self-hating Jews, rabbis of Palestine, go to New York, to Hunter College, badmouth slandering Israel. And the Torah says, forget about it. You should always sing the praises of Eretz Yisrael. Bainish. Koinki Dinki, Pasha of the week. Chuma Zimra Sa'aret. What does Zimra mean? What does Zemra mean? A song. You should always sing the praises of Eretz Yisrael. But J Street and the other, BDS, whatever they're called, breaking the silence, they go on the college campuses in New York, in America, and they don't sing the praises of Israel. They slander Israel, make up lies. Look how the Pasha Ray is always right on target. It's amazing, right on target. Now in this Pasha, amazing, this Pasha, the cakes, we won't be next week, so we'll do it now, quickie. The brothers are called Anoshim 10 times. Which is very strange. Billa, please hear me. They should be called Achayose. They should be called Bnei Yaakov. But 10 times, Bein Bechai points out, 10 times they're called Ho'anoshim. Ho'anoshim, you know Hebrew better than me. What does Ho'anoshim mean? The Hey Hayidiyah. Doesn't say Anoshim. Ho'anoshim, Huda, what does that mean? The special men. The special men. So Bein Bechai says, call them Achei Yosef, call them Bnei Yaakov. Why they call 10 times Ho'anoshim with the extra Heyediyah? Sitting down? These were the 10 special men, the 10 martyrs. They sold their brother into captivity. They never got punished for it. Centuries later, kidnapping a Jew and selling slavery is capital punishment. Centuries later, says the Zohar, Rabbeinu Bechai quotes this, they became the 10 special men, the 10 martyrs of Israel who were executed by the Roman government because they were the Gilgulim, how do you say that in English, Ray? Of the 10 brothers. Therefore, they're not called the 10 brothers, they're not called the 10 sons of Jacob, they're called what? 10 times Ha'anoshim, with the extra hay. Genesis 46. Genesis 46, verse 15, verse 16, verse 17, verse 18, over and over again, they're called the men, Let's count with me, 10 times. They're called. Genesis 43, Pasuk 15, they're called Ha'anoshim. And Genesis 43:16, they're called Ha'anoshim again twice. And in Genesis 43:17, in case you don't get it, they're called Ha'anoshim. In Genesis 43:18, they're called again what? Ha'anoshim. It jumps out at you. Then Genesis 43 verse 24, they're called what? Ha'anoshim. Genesis 44:1, Ray, what are they called? Ha'anoshim. Genesis 44:3, what are they called, Yehuda? Ha'anoshim. Genesis 44 verse 4, Ha'anoshim. Genesis 43:33, they're called Ha'anoshim 10 times, Avram. It jumps out at you, Bilah. Jumps out at you.
And there's no reason they shouldn't have been called brothers.
Brother Achayose b'nei Yaakov, why over and over again Ha'anoshim 10 times with the extra hay? Beinu b'chai. They became the 10 martyrs. You can pay me now, or Avi, pay me later.
Beinu b'chai.
Beinu b'chai says this. Pretty incredible. We're over 40, we can talk Kabbalah. But it jumps out at you, Avram. It jumps out at you. Just count 10 times Ha'anoshim. Yeah. Pretty incredible, right? There's so many signs there, just don't get it, right? He knows their age. He seats them according to, right? And they're in denial. They're not para, they're in denial. The brothers, they can't see. He asked about the old father, the old father, the old father. He knows exactly their names and their age. And they just can't, that this guy in front of them is not Tutankhamun. They just can't see it, Daniel. They're none so blind who will not see. They were in Fantasy Island, right? None so blind who will not see the truth. Yosef is right in front of them, and they just can't see it. Because they have this mindset that what? That he's dead. They have this mindset, like the peace process. They're stuck. They're stuck. Einstein said the definition of insanity is you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Right? Some people just don't get it. That's just amazing. They just didn't get it. The brothers just couldn't get it, Ray. Right? You're stuck with a certain mindset, like a mental block. They couldn't see it's right in front of them, their brother. All the signs were there. But some people say, Daniel, do not confuse me with the facts. My mind is what? Made up. Sunday we have a shiur, how Yehudit was the Esther of Hanukkah. Get it? Yehudit? She doesn't get enough credit, in my humble opinion. I'll show you how Yehudit is actually the Esther of Hanukkah. That's Sunday.
This Sunday.
This Sunday. But next Thursday we're off. But this Sunday we're on.